Today's presentation is over David Samuel Snedden. One of the most prominent educators of the progressive era, David Samuel Snedden was probably the most articulate advocate of social efficiency. Snedden adopted this term for his approach to design an educational program that reconciled the demands of industrial society with the capabilities and interests of children. Throughout Snedden's life and career, he became one of America's pioneer educational sociologists, and with that, taught for many years. By looking at aspects of his life, we are able to dissect and understand just how much Snedden impacted education in a way never accomplished before. David Samuel Snedden was born November 19, 1865, in a cabin on Kelso Creek in the shadow of the Sierra Nevada, and was one of the first of 5 children to David and Anna Snedden. He was named after his grandfather, who had been a schoolmaster from Perth, Scotland, and his father who had been lured away to California by the gold rush. After a failed attempt at mining, he settled down and became a father. David Snedden had been born in a cabin on a working farm. As such, he helped his father in any way he could at his age. His mother had been his and his brother and 3 sisters' first teacher, so Snedden never saw the inside of a classroom until he was 14 years old. Once he started public school, he was placed in the highest grade because of the skills in reading, arithmetic, spelling, handwriting, and grammar he had learned from his mother. The drought of 1877 cost David's father half of his herd, and 2 years later they were forced to move away from the school. A Los Angeles newspaper, received by mail, served as a more continuing tie with the outside world. David did not go back to school until 1884, when a school was created because of his mother's instigation. His first teacher at the Alamo School was William F. Aram, and taught by assigning large sections from the textbooks for memorization and to hear a recitation of each pupil in turn. Snedden took 3 years of this in a little one-room school. The 2 teachers' methods after Aram proved to be more efficient and enjoyable for Snedden. Miss Mosher told Snedden he would be learning algebra, English history, and high school English to receive a more rounded education. Because his father was land poor during most of his lifetime, money was scarce and college was out of the question, until Aunt Catherine Wilson of Los Angeles, Snedden's mother's sister, came into the picture. Aunt Catherine had gone off and married a wealthy man and valued education, much like her sister. Catherine decided to fund her 2 nephews' educational pursuits at the college level. She offered to pay all necessary expenses, including board, room, tuition, amounting of $250 each for the year. Samuel Snedden agreed to go without his sons helping him on the farm to allow them to receive an education. So, in the spring of 1887, the 2 Snedden boys were off to St. Vincent's College in Southern California. At this time, Los Angeles was experiencing its second greatest population boom and emerging as a new city. St. Vincent's College was one of the oldest and largest institutions of higher learning in Southern California. His program was based on a 6-year course load, including 4 years preparatory work and 2 years of collegiate courses. Snedden finished the process in 3 years through his hard work and determination, and graduated in June of 1890 with a gold medal for general excellence, and as the second person in the history of the school to be awarded the A.B. degree. The last 2 years of St. Vincent's, David lived with his Aunt Catherine Wilson at her home instead of living in the dormitory. During a holiday, he was able to become closer to Agnes Wilson, his cousin and undergraduate student at the University of California, and played an important role in his later ideas because she was the one to introduce him to the works of Huxley, Darwin, and Spencer, which he read and thoroughly discussed with her frequently. After graduation at the age of 22, Snedden intended to study for the bar, but in order to earn money to finance his legal education, he took a teaching job at a school in the Fairview district of rural Ventura County. This went well, and Snedden took the examination for certification. The next year he taught at a different school with a reputation of being tough. He took on the role and excelled in the classroom environment. In 1891, Snedden was one of 6 applicants to appear for the annual teacher's examination. 5 days of testing from 8 in the morning to 6 at night. He scored the highest, making an 88%. When he had free time, he spent it studying the complete works of Herbert Spencer, who seems to have forever alienated him from the classical tradition. When he felt as though he needed 2 more years of undergraduate work and a 4 years bachelor's degree, he went to Stanford University, where he heard the doctrine of social control set forth by Professor Edward A. Ross. Ross left a big impression on him and gave him the perspective to explore Spencer's query, what knowledge is most worth. He also went back to St. Vincent's College and received a Master of Arts degree before going on to pursue a doctorate at Columbia University under the direction of Edward T. Devine, the nation's foremost social worker. He gained a greater insight into social ills, and the subject of his dissertation, the Juvenile Reform School, seemed to provide him with the ideal prototype of education for social efficiency. Social efficiency is a pedagogy that takes the position in education that calls for the direct teaching of knowledge, attitudes, and skills intended to shape the individual to predetermined social characteristics. It conditions students for what society needs. If the society needs good farmers, then farming should be taught. The aim of social efficiency is to develop an effective and efficient society. As far as content goes that a teacher should go over, it should be organized around needed societal skills. Instruction should exist to shape students' behavior efficiently and effectively. The teacher's responsibility is to serve the future society's needs and identify as a manager focusing on student behavior outcomes. Snedden believed in this strict system and wrote many books to support his ideas. For 10 years, Snedden served as a teacher, principal, and superintendent at California schools before going to teach as an assistant professor at Stanford in 1901 to 1905. Then after that, he served as an adjunct professor at Teachers College, Columbia University. As the first state commissioner of education in Massachusetts, Snedden chose a former student as his deputy commissioner for vocational education. Together, they popularized a system of vocational schools of specific function. He used reform schools as a model for the improvement of the public school system. He co-authored the first school administration textbook, The Administration of Public Education in the United States. It begged for legislation reform to take school government away from politicians and put it into the hands of experts. Because he believed schools did not prepare for life, they just prepared for college, which only a few attended. He was a major advocate for vocational schools, which is why he wanted to start so many. During his second term at Teachers College as professor of educational sociology from 1916 to 1935, Snedden built on his concept of social efficiency and applied it to curriculum, constructive, civic education, and character building. He went on to write a book, Sociological Determination of Objectives in Education, that argued that there are two main components of adult life. Production is the ability to do, and consumption is the ability to appreciate. But to make the liberal and vocational elements of life teachable, he had to divide social life up into paths. He basically turned to the concept of scientific management developed by Frederick W. Taylor and transferred school and teaching by Franklin Bobbitt. Like those two, Snedden believed scientific curriculum making took school education out of the Stone Age and into the industrial present. David Snedden took social efficiency to a new level in education during his time. He was an important figure in education and people listened to as well as respected him. Although he did have a large dropout rate, the students that survived his teachings flourished in society because of their well-rounded knowledge. Snedden did go on to marry and have children, but after he retired, he regretted not ever developing a hobby outside of the world of education. He returned to the ranch he grew up on and lived out the remainder of his life there until his death in 1951.